time for today's thought leadership panel on innovations and trends disrupting industrial services MRO space. Today, we have a very fantastic and diverse panel to talk about the aerospace, defense, and oil and gas industries and how MRO industry is being impacted with different kind of innovations that are happening in these industry. We have Ritu from Telepresenz, Indu from Telepresenz. She is the CEO of Telepresenz, and Telepresenz is the recent addition in our portfolio. Telepresenz is working on remote connected platform, and they have this platform to support the efficiency improvement in the MRO spaces in oil and gas, mining, and aerospace industries. Now, without further delay, I would request Indu to give a brief introduction of Telepresenz, and then I would move on to request panelists to give a brief intro. Indu, please.
Thank you. And to again thank all the panelists for your time this morning, today, and for being a part of this discussion, hoping to learn a lot from our conversation. Myself, Indu Tolia, I'm CEO, founder of Telepresenz. We are a smart operations platform that utilizes a lot of these immersive technologies, AI, ML, augmented reality, to basically bring in efficiencies and reduce downtimes, improve, upskill teams. And excited to showcase what we do and discuss with you all as being service leaders in your own domains. Looking forward to this conversation.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Indu. Now I would request Mark to provide a brief intro.
Yes, hello, good day, because there is a lot of time frame for the panelists, so it's a good day for everyone. So Mark Essig, just in a short, I'm working in the defense aerospace since more than 30 years in several companies, mainly and working mainly international. I was posted in the Nordic country, in the Baltic region, in Greece, in Africa, and recently in Middle East. And I now held a company to support SME for export-related matters in defense industry.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Mark. Dinesh?
Yeah, thanks, Pankaj. Thanks once again. I'm Dinesh Tallur, working with the Siemens organization, working for an outfit within the Siemens group called Siemens Digital Industry, where we have the hardware part of digital industry, and I work for the digital industry software subdivision. And then so the primary role that we play as the Siemens digital industry software outfit is, how do we digitalize? How do we enable the digitalization among the very diverse and heterogeneous customer environments? And how do we bring them onto this platform of being digital, which will make their businesses more efficient, transparent, and so that they will be able to in turn service their customers better. So that's the perspective that we will be bringing in the today's theme about in the discussions, the main moot point. So my role will be to see what are those perspectives that are there from outside the digital community, from the core MRO community of the people who are and the stakeholders, and see how do they perceive this, the role of digitalization here, and then where do we fit into the overall conversations as the provider of, because I primarily work, personally, I belong to a small group within Siemens Digital Industry Software, which is about simulation technologies, engineering simulation technologies. And these core kind of technologies and very niche technologies, how can they radically make a difference in the way the MRO services are being carried out today, is one interesting point that I would like to share as we go along, and also would like to see how the other stakeholders see this particular seemingly radical point that I would be bringing today.
Thanks a lot, Dinesh. Appreciate that. Vladimir?
Yes, well, I'm Vladimir Castro. currently based in Spain, but my career, 26 years experience, 20 in the MRO market with 4 companies, 3 American companies and 1 Brazilian, always working with technologies, different technologies, focusing on MRO, different type of equipment, static, rotating equipments, industrial automation, field instrumentation. So I had experience with different technologies and so different type of equipments in Latin America, okay? My experience in these 20 years working with OEM. So it's something, that I really like. It's a painful area, because usually it's an area that's not considered an investment, but it's a cost in the most part of the companies. But, it's an interesting challenge. So it'll be a pressure to listen from the others and share, my experience in this area. So thank you for the invitation.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Vladimir. Rafael?
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. So my name is Rafael Domingo. You can call me Coco. I'm working for Collins Aerospace. We're actually part of the Singapore Innovation Hub, which is partially funded by the Singapore government. So our mandate is basically to be the center of excellence for process within the aerospace, whether it's in the aerospace ecosystem, whether it's for manufacturing or for MRO. We are hosted out of the MRO facility of Collins that is specific to power controls and advanced structures. So I've been working in Collins for, I would say, 2 years. I was a vendor for them before that. I'm based in Singapore, and I've been here for more than 15 years, I would say. So I've always been in the aerospace MRO or manufacturing side. I've been in local, I've been in the other companies as well. So happy to share my experience and my insight for this session. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Rafael. As I mentioned earlier, our panel is extremely diverse, not only in terms of geography, but also in terms of expertise and industries. So, Endo, why don't we start with some exciting questions that you got for our panelists, please?
Absolutely. So, we are all coming, like Pankaj is saying, we're all coming from different industries, different backgrounds. And I think to just kickstart the conversation, it would be interesting to learn from you all, what would be some of the most painful challenges that you are experiencing today in, as being, MRO and service leaders in your industries and domains. What would be some of these from a technology standpoint or from just a, regular operation standpoint?
Probably Vladimir can lead the question. Vladimir?
Yeah, it's interesting, I always was a service provider, okay? Or I was offering the technology or offering the service with some technology, but what I used to listen and still listen is about the lack of budget, okay? But it definitely is not the main challenge, but I listen. But to me, it's, every maintenance leader looks for, let's say, predictability, to reduce the, let's say, the unplanned stops, especially the ones, that cause some issue for the operation, some downtime, and of course, it is pretty simple when you describe like this, but definitely it's not simple, because it's like a business. You have different options, depends on your budget, depends on your team, your technical resources. I mean, by technical resources, the technology that you have available, the culture, the work practice that you have. So it's complex and it changes from industry to industry, and not only from industry to industry, but from company to company, because all this, impacts on achieving this dream, that you go to your home in the weekend and stay with your family and don't receive an email or WhatsApp or a call or whatever, and then you go back there to the company on Monday with everything as planned. I think that's the challenge. It still is. Technology definitely helps a lot, but it's complex. It's beyond technology.
Thank you. Yes, Vladimir, and yes, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, on my side, in the more talking about aerospace and defense industry, the most challenging topics for this is as the system has a long life cycle, because when you purchase aircraft, fighters, or defense equipment, it lasts for 20, 25, 30 years. So the most challenging is the obsolescence management, the supply chain, and to be sure that the system is as much as possible in operation when on the field, to have because you cannot have 100% of operation long life, but at least to reach, when you reach 80%, it's fantastic. Generally, it's more between 60 to 80% that the system is in operation, and the rest is on the maintenance activity. So the main challenge is to shorter the maintenance activity, have quite speedy and very strong preventive maintenance in order that the system are ongoing all the time, and make much more head-to-head the obsolescence management in order to know when you have to replace parts by new component or new system, because the old one are not manufactured anymore.
Right. No, absolutely. It resonates with exactly what Vladimir was saying as well, Mark. The fact that downtime seems to be a big issue is what I'm hearing. And the fact that, you have all of these assets, but they're non-operational because of the time it's taking to service, repair, and, bring it back. The turnaround time seemed to be much longer than what would be, what businesses would like. And I get that. Would love to hear from Dinesh and Rafael as well. Maybe Dinesh and...
Yeah, thanks, Indu. Yeah, of course, as Mark very rightly said, I agree with him that the single most striking KPI is about the grounded time. Of course, there will be anything that we talk about is to ensure that how we drastically compress the grounded time that is taken, because that directly connects it with the revenue earnability of the equipment or the system. Of course, this also means that the right tools and the right tackles, the right spares, the right skill have to be available at the right place and at the right time, which is currently driven by the rules of being right at the right time, at the right place, and the right skill being there. The rules of all this being right are driven by essentially the kind of preventive maintenance, or something which is like a, what do I say, like a manual. These are all like prefixed and predefined, and this is where majority of the need to be being right with all these elements is being now driven by this. And now, following this kind of manual, there could be some management approaches where have a better inventory management system, or more collaboration in terms of the OEM knowledge sharing, or training the skill and the skill development of the people involved in it. So these are some of the things which can ensure that while following the manual-based maintenance activities, your downtime is reduced, because you are putting all these elements and the constituents together on a well-oiled kind of engine and a mechanism to run out. But the significant challenge would be, how do we bring some lateral element into this? How do we move it to the predictive analytics or prescriptive kind of maintenance? Not even just predictive. It is not just enough being able to predict when a particular maintenance activity has to be carried out, beyond or much ahead of its actual the manual-based timelines. So these decisions are taken based on, of course, there are a lot of IT technologies which can help, including the simulation technologies will be at the core to create the high fidelity physics models can also be one of the inputs here. But then as the data, more and more data is available, we can actually create some AI models also to give us some kind of a predictions like this. But this also means that we need to have a longer historic data. The longer the data, better will be the accuracy and the prediction of these AI models. The challenge here today is that the AI models do not have that kind of a critical mass of data for us to confidently and authoritatively infer that these AI models will be able to predict accurately for us. Because the critical volume of data may or may not be there, whatever is required. Because the longer the data, more accurately. It's a natural thumb rule of any AI model. So this is where the complementing things like the physics-based models, or where the core high-fidelity engineering models will have to be created, and where we don't have data, use them as those complementing outcomes from running these kind of simulations, and use them to make the predictive analytics a little more accurate. Now coming to the challenge part. Now these are all the terms that we have been using, like for particularly the simulation, the high fidelity simulation models that we have to create, or if we have a sufficient volume of data, I don't want to go the high fidelity model creation like a typical engineering activity happens when the OEM working on the design and development, but I have enough data to bank on, and then I will try to develop an AI model to use it. So these are all, and the IoT infrastructure that is required to capture the data, or the AR and VR technologies which will enable the labor to use them. So these are all very IT intensive or computer intensive, software intensive tools. Now the current MRO setup, this is where I see as the biggest challenge, is that the current MRO workforce is largely, or their business processes are largely on the technical or the core engineering side of it, rather than the IT part. So the IT adoption, any advanced tools of IT, the adoption of these tools into the MRO's core business practices is something I see as a significant challenge in the next couple of years, because once we fix that, so these processes will get properly embedded and blended with the ongoing MRO practices, which will significantly, because these are all very specialized tools that we are talking about. So the current MRO setup and the workforce may or may not be able to really stand up to the level where they can quickly adopt it and then start using it in their processes. This I see as a significant challenge for all the concerned stakeholders to look at.
Thank you, Dinesh. That was very insightful. And you hit the nail on the head with the whole, what we need in terms of being able to do a proper trend analysis based on data, and then be able to predict or, and do some predictive and prescriptive, like you said, maintenance. But to your point, we haven't seen historical data, at least in the MRO space, where companies have that type of data that we can actually use right off the bat and start to adopt. And to your point, IT seems to be taking the back seat. It is more on the engineering design side of things that they're very good at, and they're adopted a lot of tools. Thank you for sharing that. And yes, and there's a couple of other things we've seen as well in terms of, change management and how to address that with getting them to adopt newer technologies on the IT side. Be happy to discuss that as well. Raphael?
For me, I will take a step back, look at it more on a high level view. Biggest challenge for MRO is still in labor. It's still a very labor intensive operation. Aerospace in general is a very conservative industry. A lot of the approved work instructions, whether it's internal to the company or because of the authority, whether it's FAA or here in Singapore, the CAAS, or in Europe, EASA, they all rely on processes that were approved maybe 10, 15, or 20 years ago. So innovation is a big step for us to lessen the reliability on labor. Segueing to what we're talking about today, we hope that, coming out of the pandemic, it actually accelerated a lot of the the changes that is required so that we can rely less on labor and more on digital tools, as Dinesh mentioned, and all the other panelists mentioned. So the labor challenge is still predominant, and I'm not sure if it's just in Singapore. I think it's global. Being able to get the talent and the skill. So we also have that aging workforce where the specialists become less how would I say it, less present in the job, and then the knowledge transfer, it disappears over time. So that's also one thing that we can see as a challenge in the MRO space. Thank you.
Thank you,
feels,
Rafael.
it feels to me Rafael is talking about problem statements right out of Telepresenz pitch deck, which is really interesting to hear. But please go ahead, Indu.
No, this is actually actual problem statement. So as I mentioned, I'm from the Innovation Hub, and we tackle what our sites is raising as problem statements from the ground. So this is not just from our site in Singapore. I mean, Collins is located in the three major IATA spheres in the globe. So it's a common problem statement that comes, whether it's from the Americas, from EMEA, or in Asia Pacific. They are trying to find ways. It's not even cutting on labor, but trying to repurpose the labor force and find value in the work that they do. So yeah, I think it segs very well with Telepresenz, what they're trying to do.
Yes, thank you, Rafael. Yes, that's what we hear and we're seeing as well. Especially in the aerospace industry, being dependent on labor is a huge issue. The second thing is that a lot of the processes are also very manual. So you're trying to basically take all of these paper work orders and incoming forms, outgoing forms, inspection, all of these are still very paper based. So slowly trying to transform that into digital and bring in visibility to all of the stakeholders, including your customers and other OEMs that need to know what's happening, and that type of data visibility right into what's happening. Because right now, I know some of the processes a little bit more, to your point, it is dependent on labor, and the processes have been defined many years ago. So they're not authorized to do certain things, and it's a huge process to get. So we're definitely seeing some of that ourselves. Anybody else, Pankaj, that we have?
Let's move on to the next question.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's great. Got some great insight on the first question. I guess we'll move on to the second one. What are some of the new innovations and newer technologies that in your industries that you would be excited about in terms of bringing it to your teams? So should we start with Vladimir again?
It's okay.
Okay.
Oh, you just said about, digitalization, the the digital transformation definitely is key. I like, for instance, IoT, actually my son has IoT in his name, it's Elliot. So, that finishes with IoT. It's just a coincidence, it's a joke, but IoT is something that, the way we call is, let's say, new, but it's not really new. 20 years ago, we had a lot of different sensors. Dinesh is from Siemens. I used to be with Emerson at that time, and there were a lot of information in the field devices, but that was not properly used. As you just said, that, a lot of things are manual. It still is, it was 20 years ago, and it still are. But now, as you have a lot of electronic embedded in this field device, so you can, acquire much more reliable and precise, information from any type of device, and of course the connections also, the networks to connect all this information are different, so you can get a lot. And then second, once you have all this information available, you can have all this information diagnosed, from different type of assets. Of course, AI and machine learning is something that I really like a lot, because once you have this information, it's too much to a person to analyze. So if you can, have this AI algorithm and then machine learning, taking advantage, properly treating all this data, you can reach amazing results. And one particular technology that I missed years ago when I was working with an American company that had a technology for automation welding. So we used robots to weld, to repair, recover, usually pressure vessels. So you could do 10 times more than with a robot. Okay, it was planning technology, like digital twins or augmented reality, something like this, that I could see inside of a vessel, for instance, that allow me to proper plan, the activity. I mean, to see, all the details, to save time, because we had traditional drawings, papers, I mean, and it was very different, the drawings you had and the reality you used to find in the field, So technology like this would save a lot of time at that time when I was in charge of this business. So I think it's okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Vladimir. Yes, Mark?
Yeah, I totally agree with Vladimir. The big data and AI and machine learning will help a lot to gather all the data, and for me, especially on the to gather information for preventive maintenance, to be sure when and what to replace on the due time, in order that the system will be completely in operation all the most time possible. The second thing is the augmented reality. It's quite key for the people for two reasons. It will help to train them for the new equipment, and also to train the people in order they gain the capability to maintain the system for a longer time. Because one of the issue we have with resources is that how you can keep resources knowing one system that has been designed and manufactured 20-30 years ago. So you need to be sure that you have the capability to maintain, replace the faulty part, or like I said before, make the proper obsolescence management to replace the piece which need to be done with the new equipment in order to have better capacity or running system. But the most helpful will be the big data analysis, for sure.
Yes, agreed. Thank you, Mark and Vladimir. This is very insightful, and you're right. There are a lot of technologies, IIoT, sensor-based technologies, AR, VR. There's a lot of disruptive technologies that can indeed help in streamlining and bringing in a little bit more upskilling to people that need it, keeping them up to speed on, how to do things today, even though those products were designed, implemented, and, or installed or being used for the last 20, 30 years. How do you make sure that the newer team members are still proficient enough to be able to service them, to reduce, downtime? But love to hear from Dinesh and Raphael as well.
Yeah, thanks, Sindhu. So one disruptive and non-linear development that is catching up the good resonance among the some of the aircraft users that we are talking and interacting with is, again, I'm looping back to that the phrase the predictive analytics and the prescriptive maintenance. There is one corollary of this which is actually fast catching up the attention, and it is actually meriting a very good intensive discussions with the Air Force and other folks, is about how do we do this. Is called actually the residual life extension, or maybe it might be having different connotations and phrases being referred to differently in different geographies and different industry segments. But essentially what it is a remaining useful life or a residual life extension, or residual life assessment, and these are referred to as multiple by different people. But essentially what it means is that, how do we prolong why it's a part or a component or a mechanical or a structure has to be discarded because it has just lived its age. It's a design age. What are those re-engineering? Because some of these designs would have been done several decades ago. Probably there could have been improvement in the materials, or there could have been improvement in the processes. Now, how do we re-engineer those things and then see that we extend slightly re-engineer those spares and components, and then see whether the overall system reliability is still retained while making these changes, which could be probably more cost effective also. So any initiatives, again, this will involve a very complex engineering decisions. It needs a very solid understanding of the OEM's IP also, which has gone into designing a particular component. But then this is again, Siemens proposes to use a heavy dose of those high fidelity simulation models to create those models and use them in conjunction with the data that is available for the particular part, and see how do we hybridize the whole environment to make better predictive analytics. This can also help in the user serviceable materials as well today, which is one of the important practices across the MROs, is to see that how do I retrieve the parts and some of the spares from the aging or the discard worthy aircrafts, and then how do I slightly engineer them and then use it. This is anyway an ongoing practice there. But this will enhance the efficacy of that approach which is already there. So I see this as a very distinct area which can be disruptive, but its adoption might have its own complexities, and maybe initially the OEM related MROs only may be able to take it up because it involves a little bit of design and engineering background as well, and not a pure play MROs may not be able to use it. But over a period, as the ripple effect, it might also get across to the other MROs who are in the chain. Maybe whether it is a labor intensive MRO activity, like maybe an airframe maintenance, or maybe a very, very less labor intensive, but more technology intensive, like an engine maintenance. So there can be two different elements in the same spectrum. So regardless of which space they are addressing, they can leverage these technologies to have a better cost optimization on it, and then ensuring the longer utility of the aircraft systems.
Very insightful. Thank you, Dinesh.
Yeah, for us, I think one of the exciting innovations or exciting things we've seen is even to the basics of digitalization. Our checklists, our inspection reports now are being migrated from paper, pen, and the stamp that I don't know if you guys remember are now slowly being migrated to digital. And it's a good thing because at least traceability will be better. To the more exciting things like AR/VR, being able to collaborate. As I mentioned, the pandemic accelerated this. We now can tap into our experts, let's say based in the US or based in Europe, without the need to being physically present here in Asia Pacific. So frontliners meaning the people who are doing the inspection or the repair or the manufacturing on site can work through AR/VR, through 3D virtual connection to troubleshoot or to diagnose a problem. And it extends not just only to the expert side within the company, but also to our customers. So our customers now are starting to explore that they're able to do the physical inspection without waiting for, let's say, the email that the photos are going to be sent on how their unit looks like before it goes into repair. We can actually do it real time. So those are just a couple of exciting technologies that I think in the last year or two, really was accelerated, and we're still continuing development in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Raphael. Yes, digitizing is the way to go for, for everything, right? Whether it's to, even have visibility into, how the aircraft is, currently doing, what type of, predictive type of maintenance you need to do. I mean, unless you have enough data to support all of that and to be able to run some analysis, it's the bottom line for digital transformation, right? So it completely resonates. Pankaj, do we have time for another question?
Yes. Yeah, please. Let's go ahead.
Okay. So I'll propose the next question, and maybe we can go with the same flow. Vladimir, you can kick it off, and then we'll, take it from there. So how do you see this space evolving over the next 5 to 10 years? What is your vision for how do you streamline operations? What would bring in, what would disrupt the industry?
Well, yeah, that's interesting, because disrupting depends on the market, Raphael just shared, his experience moving from paper, right, to digital. In EthAum, we've been developing projects, that are exactly this, to bring people from paper to digital. That looks basic, but for them it's disruptive because they've been working with paper for 30 years. So, so to me, it also depends on the reference, but I have no doubt in general terms, it's difficult to talk in general terms, all this technology, of course, will become more and more, let's say, popular, used, be scaled. Like IoT, definitely, is something that has been working for more than 10 years, and I think will be moving forward, AI, machine learning, and all of them. I think something that helps all this technology now and will keep helping is that all this technology in some way, it's part of our private life. When you think about, for instance, augmented reality, you probably know about the Pokemon Go, the game, right? That was, viral a few years ago. So when you present a technology like this to a maintenance guy today, it's not something like a NASA stuff, no, this is for, no, I respect, but no, this is, okay, they know, because of our cell phone, there's a lot embedded. So I think it approach, private to professional life. So, it depends from industry to industry. As I said, I think AI and machine learning, that is big data, will come first from my experience, because again, it's too much information to a person to treat. So all that can help, take advantage from the data to take better decisions, to reduce downtime or whatever you are pursuing, I think will come first. But let's say, I'm interesting because it's a conservative segment, but now that, again, it's kind of the same, the private and the professional, I think this technology will be able to be escalated faster. And I hope it happens,
Yes. Thank you, Vladimir.
Yeah, I will challenge a little bit, Vladimir, on two areas. I know it's a conservative domain, but need to evolve very quickly because there is a change in the world. Previously, when you buy a system, it lasts 1-2 years, and you take the new one and you put on the garbage the previous one without maintenance or without repair or whatever. The trend, and also with the ESG and the things that the raw material become rare and difficult to grab internationally due to whatever conflict or rare activity. there will be more and more activity for repairing and maintenance of the system. So the things will be to be at the quickest way possible in the many places there the system are, in order you can react and repair quickly. So it takes, that means you need to set up regional hub for maintenance for the system where you can have a quick response time. You have to have, again, I'm very keen about the obsolescence management, but you need to work in advance for the change of the system in order to repair and not to create or to update and upgrade the existing one. So it will be a very tricky change, and agree with Vladimir, thanks to the new tools, big data, intelligent artificial, the digital twin, for example, or the augmented reality and so on. It will help to be as quick as possible to repair and put the system in operation again.
Right. Thank you, Mark. Dinesh, do you want to give us your thoughts?
Yes, Indu, thanks a lot again. Indu, while the digital twinning the complete system or the aircraft, and even digitally twinning the whole maintenance tasks, on the shop floor tasks also is possible, and then so that will enable the learning and all that. But the one necessary corollary again, the extension of digitalization in any field is the automation, which means that you have digitalized everything, and then you put your automated systems to carry out some of the routine tasks, which can be either through some automated systems or robotics, and a lot of things which can happen as a consequence of going digital, because you have everything which the machines can understand and execute. So the dependence on the labor part, on the where there is a labor intensive segments are there within the MRO today, like the airframe maintenance, for example, where it is said that around 80% of the cost here is labor costs here in this. And then on the other side of the spectrum is about, like an engine, where the labor cost is less, where the spares cost is more on the engine maintenance. But at least on the other side of the spectrum, where the labor costs are intensive, with this automation, majority of those skills will get upgraded. So there can be a faster turnaround in those places. So which can be a disruption. Why I say disruption is because unless the skill or radically transformed of the labor, we may find them redundant, because those things will become automated, because automation is a consequence of any digitalization. So it can go there. So I see that in the undercurrent, it may not be very seismic, but then that can be a very slow disruptor. That's one. And on the other side, on the ecosystem side, and since the increased dependence on the IT and the digital technologies on their core business processes, and MROs at their core may or may not be able to absorb and adopt and then deploy them and use them in their regular business processes. I see an emergence of a third player in this, who could be like an ITS or an engineering service provider specifically to MROs, because it is not just providing them an IT platform and a digital platform, but it is continuously ingest the data, keep refining, sanitizing the data input points that you are continuously getting, because any digital twin does not stop at what kind of a platform you gave them, because data is the new god. So the data actually is, the more data it has, the more accurate digital twin it is. So it is a constantly an active job of which might get outsourced to a new evolution of a new space within the MRO industry. I'm seeing that this can emerge as they will become more IT enabled and digital companies rather than executing the mechanical tasks on the hangars.
Right.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I have a question to Denish. Sorry, Denish. Do you think when and how it will be possible that system that can make their own MRO automation repair without any external intervention? Do you think we could achieve that in the near term frame?
Yes, partly yes, Mark, because we are seeing that why there is we see that this can trigger that kind of an adoption is because with some of the entities like Hindustan Aeronautics Limited today, we are discussing the automating, of course, many of their, as a part of the digital twinning their complete production environment. We are discussing with them, how do they automate, how do they reduce the manual intervention into the shop floor today. We are giving them some solutions around how do we go jigless. Now, how do we automate a host of processes in the fuselage making, for example. So we have this use cases currently, which we are discussing with the likes of HAL, which prompting us to think that this kind of an automation from being in the production environment can also spill over to the maintenance tasks as well, which is easy because many of these practices can be taken there.
Thank you.
Or did I answer your question, Mark?
Thumbs up. Rahul, please go ahead.
Yeah, the trend that I can see, I think for the next 5 to 10 years, well, as we get more data online onto the cloud. So one of the bigger challenges or one of the shifts we can see is, as gladly mentioned, I think by Dinesh or Marcus, now data is power. So securing that data, being able to ensure that the data remains relevant, remains secure, it's not compromised. Rubbish data gives you rubbish output. So that's one of the trends that we can see happening. Sustainability is also one thing that came into my mind because maintaining this data requires a lot of infrastructure, a whole lot newer infrastructure. So echoing what Vladimir was saying just now, from filing cabinets, big filing Cardex cabinets, now we're looking at server banks or server racks, and the shift to that kind of storage. So just a couple of things that I can see as a pattern in the next 5 to 10 years. AWS, Amazon Web Service, or data service, I think they've grown tremendously in the past I would say 5-10 years, and I do foresee that they will continue to grow in double-digit rates in the next 5 to 10 years. So yeah, that's for my insight. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Dinesh. Thank you, Rafael. And of course, Mark and Vladimir as well. It's an interesting discussion and what your thoughts are. And I think the underlying, again, seems to be that we need to transform digitally. We need to, move operations digital so we can start to collect some data and then start to develop some ways to bring in efficiencies, right? With that being said, Pankaj, I'm going to take your cue again. Do we have time for more questions, or?
I would love to, keep going with this insightful interaction, but apologies, we'll have to move on to the roast session, which I'm really fond of, But yeah, I was really, glad to hear the feedback, insights from our panelists. Definitely, we heard a lot about AI, ML. We heard a lot about AR, VR, IoT data. But I'm glad that we did not hear so much about metaverse or NFTs kind of innovation, because again, we know MRO services industry is pretty conservative, right? The way they innovate. So that's quite interesting. Now, I would request Edu to move to the second part of the event, which is roast session. Again, Indu will be doing a brief presentation or product demo of Telepresence so that our panelists can get an idea on what Telepresence capabilities are. And then I would request our panelists to ask some direct questions, brutal questions, and provide honest feedback on the solution, on the competitive landscape based on your expertise. from your own industry. Indu, please feel free to
Yeah.
share your screen and take it from there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, my screen should be up. You're able to see my screen, right?
Yes, I can see your screen. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So, Telepresence. So who are we? We are a platform that utilizes AR, AI, ML. We basically help teams achieve more productivity, help them make smarter decisions, and of course, reduce risk to the operations overall. We do have an off-the-shelf SaaS platform, and we also offer custom solutions based on where our customers are with their digital transformation initiatives. And then we have different capabilities within the platform, looking to solve some of their pain points right off the bat, and then looking at where they're headed, being able to add on more capabilities, customize, integrate, and so on, so that they can bring in these efficiencies that their teams could actually use. So like I was mentioning, AI, ML, computer vision-based insights is something that our platform offers. We have smart operations. It comes with built-in the ability to remotely connect and collaborate with SMEs or senior engineers, or even OEMs, manufacturers, and so on, through video collaboration. We also have digital workflows to digitize all of your checklists, your task orders, inventory forms, and all of the other inspection protocols as well. We're supported on a variety of different smart glasses, as well as just regular handheld phones, tablets, iPads, based on whatever equipment or devices are already deployed with your field teams. And while we're a SaaS platform, we also offer different deployment options based on our customers' needs. So we can do an on-premise deployment, or we can just do a hybrid or a private cloud. It doesn't really matter for us. So a little bit about the company. We were founded in 2018. We're headquartered here in the United States, and we have our development center in India. We do have presence in different regions of the world through partners and through channels and SIs. Our founders, myself and my husband, this is our second venture together. And we have experience in developing and delivering enterprise software solutions over the last 26 years. Our current customers include Honeywell and Government of Singapore FL. We are deployed at the pub. We have customers in mining and also in aviation. Some of the things some of the feathers in our cap is we were deployed for rail management at the FIFA 2022 in Qatar. We were also picked by Lufthansa Technik in the Philippines and nominated as one of the most innovative MRO solutions, and also for the Engineering and Technology Excellence Awards by Transpower in New Zealand. And moving on, so industry problems, like what Rafael was mentioning, and a lot of a lot of you also were talking about, is there is a huge deficiency in skilled workers today. And so just reading off the slide, there were 31 million US skilled trade positions vacated in 2020, but there was an estimated need of 300 million. But there weren't that many available. There was only 100 million industrial frontline workers available. So a lot of this was causing, turnaround times to be rather extensive. Fixed rates were just not keeping up to, your SLAs. Dispatching, these experienced engineers and technicians or retiring the aging workforce and retired engineers is becoming harder and harder in various industries, and especially with MRO requiring field work. This is becoming a big challenge. And of course, the loss and the protracted downtime is, in some instances, over $50,000 an hour of loss that companies are experiencing. So what are the problems that we are solving? we are solving how, to improve your turnaround times. How do you improve your first time fix rates? How do you reduce your downtime of whatever assets, whether it's airplanes, whether it's industrial equipment, whether it's machines? How do you save costs, and how do you bring in operational efficiencies with your operations, right? How do you visualize data, which is, what are the activities that are already happening, that are in progress, that are completed? What are the issues that your operators are experiencing as they're working on repairing or maintaining or replacing some equipment? All of this in real time to have that visibility is what Telepresence provides. We also have easy accessibility to remote expertise. This is what I was talking about. You don't have to have senior engineers or your experts, leave their home on a weekend when they get that call to then travel to a hangar or travel to a site and then be able to assist their workers with whatever issues they're experiencing. They can remotely connect into their teams and then be able to support them that way. You can also patch in your OEM or a consultant or a manufacturer if the need is really critical and urgent. You can bring them into the conversation as well so that you can collaborate together. We have the ability for your teams to pull up any type of reference material that could be relevant to their work. So whether it's work orders, whether it's SOPs, whether it's spec sheets, whether it's AMMs, whether it is any type of data that is required for their operations, they can pull this up independently on their own. Since we're supported on wearables, it is a huge enhancement of worker safety. So everything is voice controlled. They don't need to hold up a phone or a tablet while they're, accessing this material or trying to connect with someone. We also have the ability to capture and transfer domain or industry knowledge from your senior and more experienced folks within your teams, and then be able to, train your other members or your newer members as they come on board. Helps in upskilling as well. And we streamline, the idea is to streamline processes and then, worker productivity, right, across the board. So what are the industries that we're currently focusing on? Our platform in itself is industry agnostic. So we have all of these capabilities within the platform. Typically, it's used for MRO inspections. We use it in worker and operational safety use cases as well. And remote training and supervision is another use case as well. So while we're agnostic to the industry, we have a very use case driven approach in how we're going to market. And we're currently productizing for the MRO transportation vertical, energy and utilities, as well as in mining. So our solution, how are we solving this problem? So we deliver, modular and scalable digital transformation capabilities. And like we were hearing from our panelists, a lot of industries are, further along or in different stages of their digital transformation. So based on where our customers are with their initiatives and how far they are, we can offer different capabilities of the platform so that we can integrate with some of their systems, we can automate some of their processes, and basically assist with bringing in this streamlining for their operations. So Connected Worker is our video collaboration capabilities. We do have the ability to connect SMEs to teams in real time, so they get that over-the-shoulder guidance for issue resolution. And there's a lot of AR tool sets that sort of come with that capability. Our remote operations is where we integrate with digital workflows so that this way you can assign these task orders to your field workers or your teams. You can see in real time what activity is being completed by them. You can also capture a lot of data as they're doing their processes. There's a very detailed and comprehensive reporting of all of this as well. Knowledge capture is a simple way to actually capture that, domain expertise from your experienced folks within your teams, and then be able to disseminate that into step-by-step workflows for the people that you're looking to train or upskill. And you're always going to have this knowledge base. And if those team members eventually do retire or leave the workforce, you're not left with the risk of not having that expertise within in-house. And again, that is all voice captured as well. And, we can talk a little bit more about that. And smart operations is where, for some of our customers who are a little bit more advanced in their digital transformation journey, they are using AI, ML, and computer vision-based workflows to help with bringing in these real-time insights to doing damage detections or deviations or dents or missing pieces or missing cabling or HSE type use cases. So this is sort of a progression of how we deliver our solution based on where customers are. And this is sort of like a simple use case. A technician is trying to work on some, an asset. He's trying to do an inspection of something. He can basically pull up whatever information he needs right on his headset. If he's wearing a headset or if he's got an iPad, he can pull it down. And this, of course, can come from different repositories. If it's a centralized repository where you have all your AMMs or AMMs, yes, or your spec sheets or your user manuals, guides, you can have that and you can pull it down. They can refer to it independently on their own. If he needs to, or, reach to somebody else that is a little bit more experienced with, solving an issue that he's encountering, he can certainly do that. Everything is integrated within the platform. He's able to patch in someone. They're able to see what he's experiencing. They're able to collaborate. They're able to mark up, maybe highlight some of the areas that he should be looking at. He can then just start to document all of the work that he's doing. All of these can be recorded. Of course, all of the activity is reported as well. And you can collect pictures, you can collect videos, you can even retrieve IoT data from a backend system in real time that will present itself to the operator while he's working on that asset. And of course, that gets reported as well. So the point in time, data when he was working on the asset is captured in the report. And then we can further customize based on use cases, and we can integrate with some of their legacy systems and so on and so forth. Similar smart operations use case here, the system is basically giving you insight. So you're looking at an asset, you're looking at doing an inspection. While your inspector is visually doing that inspection, the system will detect and, based on some of the trained models, highlight areas where it could possibly sense that there is, some type of a deviation to the norm, right? So these things can be set up to have real-time alerts for stakeholders, as well as, reported to different teams as well. So our target market and industries is we're in North America, APAC, and Asia, and we're focusing, and we're also going to be, expanding in EMEA and Latin America as well. And the industries, MRO, transportation, energy and utilities, and mining is our focus. So I'm going to round this off with a quick product video, so you kind of get a visual of what our solution is. And then I can
digitize your field operations with Telepresence, an AR-driven connected worker platform that transforms remote operations, visual inspections, maintenance, and training by providing workers all the tools they need to execute complex tasks in the field efficiently and safely. Telepresence has a simple, intuitive user interface for job assignment, validation, and reporting. Invite guests on demand to sessions for immediate response and decision-making when time and safety are paramount. Telepresence is device agnostic, compatible with any commercial or ruggedized handheld phones, tablet, or smart glasses. Connect remote experts to teams in the field instantaneously with real-time instant information shared both internally and externally to increase efficiency and maximize productivity. Enable remote digital operations, monitoring, and training capabilities to securely service critical operations remotely control cameras for inspection and work validation, view walkthroughs for assistance, and create instructions and checklists, all powered by voice activation. Facilitate continuous improvement in your organization. Subject matter experts in your field will create SOPs and instructions, including photos and videos as they complete the job. Standardized procedures are supplied as a custom digitized manual with every job delivery for a consistent experience. Improve employee training with Telepresence knowledge capture and reduce the time and expense of onboarding and training while increasing safety. Revolutionize your workforce with a two-way communication system for troubleshooting, repair, and self-diagnostics. Save technicians time monitoring internal signals for potential faults on site with over-the-shoulder guidance and the benefit of integrated AR toolsets. Increase remote and mobile team productivity with faster job completions, less safety incidents, and improved efficiency. With multi-device support, various deployment options, and dedicated onboarding and assistance, Telepresence is about collaboration for everyone. Book a demo today to see Telepresence in action and learn how to improve productivity with your team in the field.
Okay, so that was my presentation. I will stop to share my screen and be available to answer any questions and would love to get your thoughts and feedback. So we can start again, Vladimir, if you want to start off.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
So congratulations. You know, that's very good. I like it. The portfolio looks amazing. And let me see, I will bring, you know, the same type of question that I approached during our previous part, you know. So you have amazing technology, you know, definitely it can, when properly used, can generate a lot of value to the end users, to the different companies. And that's my point. So how are you supporting, as you described it, you have a journey, if I correctly understood, you can start, you know, that's the reality that I mentioned before. You can start with the basics and then you go, and then you finish with AI, machine learning, okay? How Telepresence are supporting, you know, the end users in this journey? Because you also said that about the labor, that's an issue in the market. So in order to proper train, to proper support these companies to, let's say, to fit this technology in their, you know, work practice, in order to take, you know, full advantage of your technology. So how are you approaching, you know, this with your customers?
Great question. So thank you, Vladimir. So we actually do have, so we have three ways in which we support our customers. One is obviously we have direct customers where we sell to them directly, and our team actually invests the time that it takes right from discovering what their problems are to seeing what they, you know, what are some of the challenges that we can solve for them firsthand, right off the bat. You know, what are the capabilities of the system that they can actually leverage? And then we, you know, introduce them to the, you know, those capabilities, deploying it, we train them ourselves and be able to go on site and be able to do all of that, right? And if some of our more advanced customers as well who are using AI, ML, our on-site presence is required just to basically understand their processes, current processes, and just be able to really, you know, drill a little bit deeper into, you know, what type of solution will best fit their applications. So that is one way we do support. The other way we do support is we have channels. These are dedicated partners of ours that are local to where our customers in the regions that our customers are. So these partners actually go into our customer sites, train them if they're looking to use devices, which is something that we also offer as a one-stop bundled solution sometimes. They go in, deploy the solution, train the customers and the actual users on how to use both the hardware, the software. We have interactive, sessions with our technical teams as well, if they need IT support or they need other types of discussing, or we want to integrate with our Maximo, we want to integrate with our SAP. These are some of the things that our partners actually help us with in being able to do that. And the third way is through SIs. These are large system integrators who already are working with some of these customers. They have insight into their current IT infrastructure and their capabilities. So through them, we support our customers as well. So we make sure that the customer is never left without the kind of support that they need on any front.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Sure.
Yeah, Indo, I have a question. How do you approach the defense customer and the defense industry in terms of supporting them on site or remote or both, or how do you do that?
Correct. So with all of our customers, Mark, that is how we do it. We do offer on-site support. A lot of times we do, a lot of things are done virtually. So we do online support. Based on our SLAs with the customers and the type of engagement it is, sometimes they need support within, a couple of hours versus sometimes they require support within 24 hours. So based on our SLAs, if we need to actually have a person be on site during a certain process, the deployment period, if we need to have somebody there based to actually do discovery with them, even before we go into that phase, we actually can offer that as well. So we've done that. So it's the same protocol that we have, for our customers is we need to basically understand and be able to, provide to them or propose to them the right value, the right solution, and the kind of value that it's going to bring. So in order to do that, we work both on site as well as virtually, and oftentimes a combination of both. Raphael, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. Okay, so I have a couple. First of all, your solution is it a modular structure? Therefore, I can pick and place based on the features that I needed.
Yep.
I'm just clarifying. Yeah, it is.
Yes. Correct.
So if that's the case, is it hosted on your servers or will you put it on your client's infrastructure?
We can do both. So we are hosted on AWS and Azure. We can do, that's a public cloud deployment, but we can offer an on-premise deployment if you have a physical server type deployment within your facility and your network if you want to do that. And we support customers today that have that type of a deployment. We can also do something that's a little bit more hybrid based on, what your IT needs are.
Right. Yeah, it more on, I think it also addresses what Mark was asking earlier. So I foresee one of the, I won't say challenge, but one of the roadblocks that would need to be addressed is the network security. How do we ensure that we have the cyber aspect covered? We do have a separate group within our company who does that, but yeah, it will go through very, very robust review, I would say, if let's say we were to consider. But that's something to think about. I'm sure your clients, I saw you were doing it PUB with the utility board. I mean, they deal with electricity and water here in Singapore, so
correct. Yes.
They should have some form of cyber as well. Sorry about
that. They do. And yes, we are in fact one of the largest deployments of wearables at the pub. And I think we're in year 3 with them now. So it's been, yes, we've had them.
Yeah, is it specific to that wearable or are you open to others? For example, HoloLens?
We're open to any wearable. We do have to certify the wearable before we can say, yes, we can deploy everything is functioning the way it should. So we can't pick a wearable off the shelf and then, be able to support it right off the bat. We just need to certify it, but we can. And we also are, device agnostic from a, handheld device standpoint. So a lot of our customers don't all go ahead and buy 200, 300 devices at a time. So they just use regular phones or whatever devices that their users have. And it works the exact same way.
Understood. Okay. Yeah, those were my questions. Thank you.
Sure.
Dinesh?
May I?
Yeah, please.
Very, very impressive presentation. Really liked it. And in the kind of diverse customer situations that you address, you must be either roasting your customers or getting roasted by your customers already. That's very impressive. I'm really floored by the width of solutions that you're giving. Into one question was about on the little IT inclined one is about, you give solutions on connected worker, remote operations, smart operations, and about knowledge capture and all that. So there is a lot of digital content or data exchange might be happening with a lot of legacy systems. Maybe it could be an ERP or maybe a planning and a scheduling tool in a customer organization, maybe a SCADA or anything of some flavor, which are also producing the digital content almost on a hourly or on a second basis. Now, how do you integrate with them? Is it at a data layer or you do some APIs with them? How do you coexist with them? And do you have any use cases which can explain the coexistence with some of these enterprise systems?
Absolutely. So we can basically, we're all REST API based. Our integrations are, API based integrations. We also have a very high level integration where customers don't want, they have an old legacy system where it doesn't interface well with, something like Telepresence, where we can just export out and import into, Telepresence. So we have a very high level type of integration capability as well. And then when it gets deeper, we can actually integrate at, the data layer, like what you're saying, is where you're able to have the push and pull not be a periodic push and pull, like a scheduled push and pull of data, but a real-time push and pull of data. And while we can import into Telepresence all of the workflows, your checklists and whatever, your asset data and all of that information, we can also push back in real time the updates that are coming into Telepresence. So for instance, every line item that each operator has completed is updated in real time. Any inspection he's done, any picture he has taken, any video that he has captured, or he has scanned an asset and retrieved data to be able to visualize its performance, real-time performance, that is reported in real time. So all of that data doesn't necessarily have to sit within our platform.
Right.
It is indeed, again, pushed back.
Okay. Another question, if I may.
Please.
You also talked about the support system for some failure analysis in one of the slides. I think maybe the last but second or last but third slide was about providing some insights for the customers to do some kind of the decision support system for failure predictions. Is it right?
Yes.
Did I see the
Yes,
correct?
you're absolutely right. So what we do is Go ahead, Dinesh.
My question is this, do you generate any causative models? Because what gets manifested as a failure may not be the root cause of it. The root cause could be lying elsewhere. Maybe like, for example, a bearing temperature increasing could be probably due to some thermomechanical fatigue in the bearing, or it could be probably oil, the temperature rise of the oil there. It could be anything, right? So, but what you get to see is some parameter like this, and then unless you have a kind of causative or causal models for these failure predictions to happen, how do you do that?
So great question. So because we don't have that expertise, we aren't able to develop those models and accurately tell you where the failure is. We can tell you where the failure is, when it happened, how often it's happened, what are the typical steps that it's taken for us to detect this failure, because that's the type of data that we capture.
Okay,
right?
So failure as manifested. Right?
As manifested.
Not as, okay, got it. Very interesting.
Yeah, and if customers actually have a analysis tool where they're ingesting this data and then developing those models, or there's custom reports on their own, they're utilizing this data to be able to bring in that additional level of information to look at things across the board.
Okay. You have any presence in India?
Yes, actually our
You
development.
mentioned about the development team, but then is there a customer interfacing team?
Yes, we do. And we have presence in Bangalore.
Okay, good. I think one of these days we should try and meet, because I see some possibility of we exploring some of the solutions together. You can be a very good contributor.
Oh, that would be great. Yes. We look forward to
And when you develop these kind of solutions, so do you take up any audit of the customer's existing environment first, and then you
Absolutely.
develop?
That is part of our process. That's what we call discovery, is to basically understand completely end-to-end process, people, everything, right down to culture, because that's a huge issue for us to, provide the kind of support that they will need, languages, all. Yes. So we do a complete audit of IT as well as on the business side.
Okay. And this you do before you actually sign up a contract with them, or it's done post that?
It is, well, it's sort of running in parallel. We already propose based on our understanding, because we can't do too much of a deep dive, without them having our proposal first off. So it kind of goes out, and as soon as the proposal is signed, we do a second level of deeper discovery, which may involve an on-site or visit or stay to figure out, all of these different facets of what we need to understand before we start to deploy and implement the system. If there is no customization, and typically for us deployment is fairly straightforward process, whether it's an on-premise deployment, it's a couple of hours versus a cloud deployment is less than that, right? So it's a very easy, straightforward process on that end from us. That has been fairly streamlined. It's more about getting people trained, getting IT to whitelist, and all of that, the initial pre-deployment stages that we work with customers on to get done.
Okay, great. Yeah. And you mentioned about Siemens being a customer in one of the slides. Which part of Siemens you serviced into, if I can ask? If there is,
this is
shareable, of course.
Yes, it is shareable. It's definitely in the APAC region. I'll have to get back to you on the exact team.
Okay. Well, I was curious to know probably if you have integrated with any of the existing legacy systems at Siemens software legacy systems there.
No,
I'm talking about
not.
either you have integrated with Team Center or Op Center, or the planning and scheduling tool and all that.
No. Yeah. So Ritesh says it's in Australia, and no, I don't think we have done any integrations with any of their systems.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Indu.
Sure.
Those were some really interesting questions. I think, Vladimir, you want to say something?
Yeah, just about the assessment that Indu just said to Dinesh. You charge us SaaS, so it's software as a service. So all this assessment, it's included or it's different? You have, let's say a fixed value for an assessment or something, and then you have the SaaS monthly fee or annual fee. How do you charge your customer for this whole packaging?
That's a great question. So yes, we have multiple tiers of pricing. We are a SaaS. We can be a user-based, license fee model for customers. Now, when it gets to really large deployments and so on, it has to, we typically do a project or platform fee, which involves, a set of users. Of course, it involves initial phase, which is our discovery phase with the customer, which involves all the, the consulting, the kitting of what capabilities are required for you, working with them, getting users, onboarded, trained. It involves all of that. So we offer it in both ways because we have channels selling our system as well in different regions. If it's a smaller scale type deployment, we just keep it for like a SaaS, primarily just take licenses, and it's a very small scale, not a scaled enterprise type deployment.
Dinesh has raised hand. Dinesh.
Yeah, sorry for a couple of follow-on questions. Sorry for a flurry of them. Indu, do you work with the aerospace and defense industry, particularly the federal government-owned aerospace and defense industry, or are you governed by any restrictions, export controls?
We are not currently working with any defense agencies, but we don't have any controls or limitations to work with. We are going to be exploring. We're working with obviously from the government of Singapore standpoint. They are a government agency, and we've been supporting them. We've got other private, public type agencies as well that we currently support. On the defense sector, we haven't yet explored or haven't been, presented with any opportunities that we've explored in that area.
Oh, okay. But there are no protocols or constraints working with them.
No.
Okay. That's
not as far as we know it. Yes, because the IP belongs to us. It is not a co-developed IP or any such thing. It lays primarily within our company by our company. It's ours. And it's privately owned. So.
Okay. So some of the implementations that Siemens is leading as a system integrator, we will need some of these components in the overall solution. Yeah. Thank
Understood. Sure.
I need to drop at the bottom of the hour. So before I drop, I just wanted to say, Indu, very interested with the solution. I'm glad that you're in Singapore. We actually have a very big design center in Bangalore. So that's also that's also very promising. Before I drop, I just wanted to say awesome stuff. I really want to link up after, if possible. Pankaj, you know what to do. If you can link us together and
definitely,
let's explore how we can. I want to introduce you to the digital team of the Innovation Hub. So we are basically the best channel to work with to get it certified by the enterprise. The company is so big. If you go through the different users, you might stumble into roadblocks and all. So the Innovation Hub actually was set up to qualify technologies from outside and how it will be adapted into the process. So love to learn more. I hope we can link up after this, and good luck. Best wishes, and thank you for inviting me to this talk. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Raphael. We look forward to connecting. Excited about the opportunity. Thank you.
You're welcome. Pankaj, I need to run. I have another meeting. I'm on US time, so even if it's 10:30 in the evening, I'm jumping on another call.
I'll talk to you later, Raphael. Take care. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
But yeah, it's really exciting to see when roasters turn into potential partners or customers. That's really exciting, which means Indu has done a fantastic job. And congrats to both Ritesh and Indu for the solution and for the traction that we have achieved so far. But yeah, again, thanks everybody for today's discussion. Really love the insights shared by you, and obviously the feedback is just fantastic. And I see Ritesh is also on video now. So again, Ritesh, you wanna say something, please?
No, thank you so much. I think it was absolutely awesome and quite an experience, and I appreciate the interaction with the panels. I mean, thanks for putting this up. Thanks for coordinating, Pankaj.
Yeah, thank you, Indu, for this 1.5 hour long marathon with our panelists. Thanks a lot, Dinesh, Mark, and Vladimir, for your insightful interaction, insights, feedback, and your interest in Telepresenz solution. Really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.